everybody, and welcome to this week's installment of the Heart of CX podcast. I'm Max Ball. Joanna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Max?
I'm doing great. And, I had an experience the other day that I've had a few times, but I haven't really gone to directly. And I think it might be an interesting jumping off point for some discussion for us. I went by a McDonald's. And there were a bunch of kiosks. And now I can now go and press buttons and do my ordering. And it's interesting to me because in a lot of ways, every time I see that, I think, oh, that's like an IVR for ordering fast food. But when I think about it, I'm not sure how much it is. So I thought maybe we could kind of kick that around in the whole just digital for food and fast food and what you've seen and some of the experiences we've had. What do you think?
Hey, that sounds great. Let's do it. So,
All right.
Have you used one of those kiosks?
Yes, I did. At back in the days when I went to airports, I did one at an airport, and it was not at all like grocery shopping. I don't know if you've done the self-service checkout at the grocery store, but the thing always yells at me because I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with my bag. And then it gets mad at me, and I end up walking away in shame. And the person has to come reset the thing 3 times for me. Even though I have a career in customer self-service, you'd think I can handle it. But it was a phenomenally non-remarkable experience. I went in, I pressed the things. In this case, it was a little while ago, so I then went up to the cash register. There was a person there. I paid, and then very quickly my food came out.
So it's interesting your assessment of that a non-remarkable experience. And so I want, thinking about that at the airport, that experience at that particular kiosk, that particular food place. Would have it been remarkable if you would have stood in line and ordered it through a person?
Only if the line was painfully long. I think it being unremarkable, if I was McDonald's, that would make me smile because it was not, like the grocery store experience was remarkable. You'll notice the minute I got on that, I couldn't stop without ranting about how awful it is at a grocery store. That was a remarkable experience.
And I completely agree with you. The grocery store self-checkout is so frustrating the majority of the time. Most of the time, I have to have the checkout person come and either verify my age or skip an item that shows that I didn't bag it even though I did, or there's a lot of friction still in self-service from a physical checkout line. Now, go ahead.
I think you just hit the key word of it was unremarkable because there was no friction.
Yeah. And as I think about even self-service at a checkout line, we're going to go all sorts of places in this podcast, I feel like, Matt.
Yes, I think so. And that's okay.
So I think about my experience with Scan and Go at Sam's Club. And so in that, it's taking the checkout line out of the checkout experience. It's taking your app and scanning things as you put them in your cart and then checking out without standing in line. And I love that.
That's cool. I've not done that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so why do the people standing in line stand in line still? Why haven't they adopted this completely frictionless experience? And as we think about customer personas, I want to get inside their head to understand the whys associated with why are you standing in line? Why are you having this physical experience? Why are you spending this time doing that? Because my preferences are make it easy, make it fast, make it painless.
Right. It's a good question. I guess I don't trust them. Our machines might be a piece of it, and worry that they're going to get ripped off somehow.
maybe. And I was slow to adopt all of the various different fast food apps, with 5 teenagers or 4 teenagers and now a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. Um, there's a lot of fast food buying that happens in our house just based on our demographics. And so with that, I think it's one of the teenagers that first started adopting the apps, the mobile apps. And they're like, mom, I can go to McDonald's and get a $3 meal because I can order the chicken online for $1. I can get free fries. I can get the large Coke, and I've got a really cheap meal. And I'm like, huh, okay. So I started taking a look at them, and I'm like, okay, there's some nice benefits to this. But again, it's all about what's in it for me. Is it going to create less friction? Is it going to provide me some additional benefits, whether that's ease of use, whether that's respecting my time, whether that's saving me money? There's got to be value added to the experience.
Yeah, and the to me, the price of this thing is so worthwhile, I'm going to put it on my phone.
Yeah.
That's a high bar for me. I know a lot of other people will just throw a ton of, and I have a lot of apps, but still, I'm, if I'm going to go somewhere once and it's going to make it more convenient, that's not worth putting it on the app. I guess and I don't, even know if it's $10 I get free for the first time, maybe that's enough. I'd put it on. I don't even know what my dollar amount would be, and if it would be something that would be worth to McDonald's to bribe me with to get me to say, okay, I'll put your app on my phone.
Yeah.
I've had the experience, and I guess let me ask you, now that you have those apps, what's the experience with them?
It's been great. So do you have Sonics out there in California?
Yes, we do. Not a ton,
Okay.
but we have them.
Okay. All right. So Sonics is kind of a big deal here in the Midwest. It's
kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. I mean, we don't have In-N-Out, unfortunately. So, for instance, Sonic, what happens? They provide their drinks at half price. And so I've got a kid who is in band. And so every Tuesday night when I pick him up, he's like, oh, I'm so thirsty. I'm like, okay, order a Sonic drink on the app. We'll go pick it up on the way home. And what's nice with that is once I get there, then I enter in what stall I'm in because you've got those stalls that you drive up into, and they bring that out immediately, and so I don't have to wait. I don't have to interact and order, and at the risk of getting the order wrong, and I get the monetary value. Now I get it in terms of the proliferation of apps too on the phone, and there's that trade-off of, is it really worth it to me? To me, it is, just because it's easy and it's faster than doing it there, standing in line, waiting for them.
Yeah, and you're not getting a burger and fries or that drink. You're just getting a drink, and
ordering it on the app. Yeah.
I wonder if that's worth it to Sonic. If all you're getting is a cheap drink, is that, are they making money? They probably are, because it costs them about 4 cents. So
yes, I would think they are. And the same with Starbucks. Starbucks was probably the first app that I started using, and just having it there waiting for me when I got there and picking it up rather than standing in line.
And that's the one that, for me, I've looked at and said, okay, because we went on a trip recently, a long drive, and I'm like, let's stop at Starbucks and get a coffee and a sandwich, and that'll start the trip. And we got in there, and there were a lot of people in there, and it was a long wait, and I just was like, oh, if I had the app, we could have ordered before we left the house. It would have all been ready. And that's when I started to have app envy. That's the one time so far I've seen where I'm like, yeah, I really want and need this. I've never perceived that kind of wait at a McDonald's or somewhere like that. In-N-Out Burger, there you can have the line snaking around the block 5 times. So there, it would be really helpful to have something like that. And so what, I guess, since you're the one ordering on these things, do you get the stuff at the time you want it? How are they in terms of delivering that?
Yeah, so for the most part, the majority of them seem to deliver when I want it. Now there are certain apps that need to be that need advancements in terms of, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if I would turn on my location indicator if you could have it and calculate when to have it ready based on where I was.
That would be nice. That
Right?
would be
Because
sick. Yeah.
if I'm 15 minutes away, don't start it now. Start it when I'm 5 minutes away so it's not cold when I get there. It's not sitting under the heat lamp. So I think that there's so much that can be done just based on this omni-channel approach and leveraging all of the various different technology to push that customer experience forward and make it better. And then the other thing too to think about is the people delivering the food. I can think of one of my family members went to go pick up food, and the lady was just extra grouchy that they didn't have one of the things we ordered, and she was just like, "We don't have that. You're gonna have to pick something else," and just really, it
Mm.
detracted from the entire experience. So then I'm thinking, okay, so how do you eliminate that variable? How do you make it completely automated where you could drive up and scan something and it know that it's your order and you can just pick it up
You
from
just,
sort of pickup spot, you know?
oh, honestly, on some level, that sounds like some sort of hell. More, not so much for you as a customer. I think it's okay if you go in and the just a little tray comes out and there's your food. But
Mhm.
the poor people working there, because now their job is reduced to cooking the
You're right.
fries and double checking the stuff that's there. And I guess they would have to be the escalation point when the app allowed you to order something that wasn't available, which theoretically would never happen, but obviously always will.
Right, right. And you and I think that could be a personal hell because it's really turned into an assembly line type of job. This is my job
Right,
to
right.
people.
And
But there are those that don't want to interact with customers, that just
yeah,
want
fair enough.
that behind the scenes job. And it could be ideal for them. I don't know. I don't know. And then you think about what we talk about from the customer experience space, that customer experience is about building and deepening the relationships. And so is this a missed opportunity to build and deepen relationships?
I would think so. I would think at some point you want to have some level of human interaction. Now, I guess with COVID going, you can argue, the touchless, right now but that's not the ongoing equation. Hopefully, that's not the ongoing equation. Um, yeah, for me, I would want it if I was working there, and just to have a smiling face. Now, if you're going to get a grumpy face and say, "Yeah, order something else," then okay, maybe robots are a better way to go.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that would be kind of interesting, when I see a kiosk in a restaurant, my brain goes straight to, that's the self-service piece, that's the IVR, or that's
Hmm.
the chat bot or whatever. Um, but I see some differences here from how I perceive things are going to happen in the contact center as bots and AI do more and more. That, what you and I talk about, God only knows how many times in the last year we've said bots are going to do the simple stuff, agents are going to be there for empathy and the hard questions. But I don't, in this restaurant example, I don't see that. I think it's just kind of almost everything at a McDonald's is rote. So you're just taking as much of the rote out. Are there going to be situations like that, or do you think, does this somehow challenge our assumption that humans are going to be needed for the hard stuff and that there will be hard stuff to do?
I think that there's still hard stuff, for sure. I think, as we think about, we always talk customer journeys, but we also need to think about company profiles. And what's tough at McDonald's? What are those tough things at a fast food service restaurant? It's when you get the order wrong,
Right.
right? And so you ordered a hamburger with pickles only and you got a cheeseburger with everything. That's the hard stuff in terms of dealing with customer disappointment.
That's true. And that's not going to go away.
That's not going to go away with the kiosk. The other thing I think of when I think about the difference between a kiosk and IVR is the personalization aspect. So IVR, you can identify the customer. You can really start personalizing based on the data you have on hand. If you think about kiosk versus app, the apps you've got to log into to use your payment method. So that entire time that you're leveraging the app, they're gathering data on you. They know what time you typically order.
Right.
They know what
Right.
you order. They can start using that to make suggestions on your next order. Whereas the kiosk is a lost opportunity potentially because they don't know who's there. Just like they don't know who's there at the front counter as well. So as we think about that true omni-channel experience and personalization, that's another piece to think about.
So I wonder, I guess if I was McDonald's, I would be trying to figure out when you're in the restaurant, and Starbucks does this actually, when you're, even once you're in the restaurant, how do I get you to order from the app
Right.
instead of the kiosk or the person? Because now I do know who you are and I can do a more personalized thing. I guess you're going to sit down and it's going to either, there's going to be one of those QR codes on the table and you do that and that puts you into the app or puts you on the web or whatever. And maybe it'll be something like that.
But even going back to that and going back to our conversation, you've got what's in it for you? What's in it for you to download their app, right? And there's only so many apps that you can tolerate on your phone. And I think each one of our tolerance levels are different for how many apps we think is appropriate.
Yeah. It's a lot of cheeseburgers for me to want to download an app. No two ways about it.
Yes, exactly. So interesting,
Well,
for sure.
yeah. What do you think? I think we kind of beat up this. That's an interesting conversation. I think we kind of beat up the topic. You have any other thoughts or?
I think we did a good job talking about just the digital transformation that's happening not just in the contact center space but also in other industries and common themes such as personalization, such as customer adoption, and that there's similarities and differences. So I think it was a really good conversation on those things.
Great. Well, thank you, Joanna.
Well,
Thank
thank you,
you all
Matt.
out there in podcast land, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.